Denise. Denise. It's Denise. It's Denise. It's Denise. Denise. It's a podcast party. It's a podcast party. It's a podcast party.
I gotta say, I feel like we're besties now after this. What's up, guys? It's Denise Salcedo. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is a crazy Tuesday night. I started this show a little bit later than I normally do because not only did I have two shows to watch, well, we all had two shows to watch, or most of us did, who, depending on what you decided to watch, with both WWE NXT going head-to-head with AEW Dynamite today because of the change in Dynamite schedule. They weren't on a Wednesday night this week. So with that being said, there was already a lot to kind of cover, but on top of that, you also had an ending that was rather completely unexpected for AEW Dynamite, and so there and we had a lot that happened on the show, a lot of announcements, a lot of just things to go over in general in terms of the content and the storytelling and the matches. So this is going to be a very loaded podcast here today. So thank you so much to everybody who waited to get into the show and for the show to get started. Before we get into everything, just a heads up to all of you. Most of you guys already know the drill, but make sure you guys keep those comments going. I will be pulling all of your thoughts as we come in here and we talk about everything that went down on the show tonight. However, if you do want to help support the show and you want to get your question, your statement, your comment, your hot take, whatever it is, read on this podcast, you are more than welcome to send in a super chat. Those help me out tremendously, as F4W does allow me to keep 100% of the proceeds after YouTube takes their cut. So please feel free to send them and I will make sure to read those here on the show today. We are going to get started. Normally I do things in a chronological format, but I'm not going to do that here today because I feel we need to get right into the main event and essentially what unfolded on today's show, especially with the closing of the show. And then we'll kind of work our way back and talk about the rest of AEW Dynamite. And then after Dynamite, I will get into NXT. There's just so much to talk about, but we got our first super chat of the day. And this is from Steven. Thank you so much for getting us going here. He says, lots to cover tonight. Thank you as always, Denise. Dude, I was feeling super stressed out already as it is, but then on top of that, just so much actually happened. We have a super chat here from Grapple Geekery who says, really hope Hangman is okay. And we're about to kick it off and talk about that. So, all right. Now, this is something that just happened, so clearly we still do not have all of the details as of yet. There hasn't been anything else that has been, put out there so far. So what we had today was, for the main event, we had obviously Jon Moxley versus Hangman Adam Page for the AEW World Championship. And, I was planning on coming out here and talking about how much I was enjoying this match. The number one thing that really was something that I had talked about on another podcast was legitimately how we all know that the program here is Jon Moxley, MJF. We all know that's where things are headed. We all know that that's going to be the match that's going to happen at Full Gear. Going into this, we've already known all of this. So a lot of us were expecting Jon Moxley to retain, and we knew that Jon Moxley was going to retain. But last week, Hangman Adam Page cut a phenomenal promo, probably one of my most favorite Hangman Page promos of all time. It was definitely up there, where he was just getting super passionate to the point where he was even like banging his hand on his head. It was really crazy, and we talked about that last week. And that promo and that moment, that interaction between Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page really just kind of leveled up the interest that you had going into this match. You already knew it was going to be good, but just the promo work that they did ahead of this bout was really what added to it. It was the butter to this bread, So for the most part, you went into this match knowing, okay, I'm going to get a hell of a match. And up until the ending, you definitely got a hell of a match. We saw a lot of great moments in this. This was an aggressive, hard-hitting match where we ended up seeing Jon Moxley get busted open. We ended up seeing Hangman Adam Page literally do a moonsault off of a platform from the little hallway or from the balcony of the hallway of the tunnels. I forget what they're called, but like those tunnels where in the arena, in the crowd. And so that was a massive moment there as well. But they exchanged chops. You see Jon Moxley biting Hangman Page, and you see Hangman Page execute a Deadeye on the apron. So this match is going, really good. And normally, because I watch on Sling, and I'm not the biggest fan of Sling, so do not take this as me promoting Sling, by the way, unless they want to pay me. But the point that I'm trying to get at here is that the app is always like a minute behind. Even if I'm watching live, it's always like a minute, sometimes 2 minutes behind. So when I looked at the clock and saw when this whole thing happened and the ending, there was still several minutes left. So I'm thinking, because for me, there was 7 minutes left. So I'm thinking in real time, there was still about 5 minutes left on the show. The point is they still had time on the broadcast. Well, this is what happened. We see Jon Moxley go in, he hits a lariat, and it's a freaking killer lariat. And at first you're thinking like, oh my God, that was crazy. Oh my God, Jon Moxley hit that so hard. That was like the initial reaction. Holy cow, Hangman Page, he practically flipped over. But then afterwards, he stays there. And he's not like, he just stays there. And you're thinking like, okay, is this, is he just sallying? What's going on? And afterwards, when you watch the replay of this, once you realize that things are going a lot longer, you have the medics coming in there and they start checking him out and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And when you watch the replay of it, you see the landing in which how Hangman Page lands, and it kind of looks like he just lands on his forehead, straight onto the mat. So once you see it again, it does not look good. Like the first time you might have missed the landing, but the second time you definitely see it. So at this point, Hangman Page is down and out, and the medics are in there. And this match ends due to stoppage. They stop the match, and that's it. And Sean posted a tweet because he was at the show, and he posted a picture of Hangman Page being stretchered out. They took out the bottom rope to stretcher out Hangman Page and take him out. And so that's pretty much how that portion of this ended. And I know that a lot of people, when stuff like this happens, you're like, okay, is this a work? Is this not a work? What's happening? This definitely did not read like that to me at all. If you just look at the way that Hangman Page landed, and then on top of that, if that isn't enough, there was a lot of little things that you caught that AEW had to do to stall for time, because they still had a couple of minutes on the broadcast, and you can't just end the broadcast early because, something happened, right? You got to keep it going. The show must go on. So they killed time by having commentary basically kind of recap a little bit about what happened, and they acknowledged what was happening with Hangman Page, and they talked about the events that unfolded. After that, they recapped some of the matches that they had announced earlier on, and then finally Jon Moxley takes the microphone, and then he starts cutting a promo about how wrestling's a dangerous sport, and he hopes that Hangman Page as well. And so he's stalling for more time. And during this, and this is the thing, like obviously guys like Jon Moxley and then MJF, who later on came out, these are guys that, on a whim, they can go and just, say, and they're professionals, they can go out there and stall for time and, and do whatever needs to be done, right? So Jon Moxley does his bit, calls out MJF. MJF finally goes out there, and MJF basically makes it seem like he's going to cash in his chip, and he doesn't cash in the chip, but that was just like the little bit of a swerve that he did. And then afterwards, he just tells Jon Moxley like, hey, I'm going to cash in this chip at a Full Gear. So this basically announced Full Gear out of this. So I know some people on my Twitter were like, it's a work because of the ending and this and that. I do not think so. And I do think like stuff like this, it's madness, like backstage when it's like a madness, like I don't know how to describe it. Like if you've ever been backstage at a show or seen like the production and see how fast things move, it is freaking nuts. So in situations like that, it's just like a go, go, go type of thing. And I think that, they stalled enough time to clearly be like, okay, let's have MJF go out there and just freaking announce this match at Full Gear, etc. And MJF's a pro. He's going to go and do what he needs to do, say whatever he needs to say on the mic with Moxley, and they feed off of that. So it was kind of like a wild ending, and you can see like little production things that basically just showed them trying to stall for time as they got Hangman Page out of the ring. And instantly you're just seeing all over social media, people sending like prayers and well wishes to Hangman. I just saw one from Big E. I just read his tweet right before I went on the air, and I'm not sure what other ones have come out, but it is definitely a scary moment to see something like that. You never want to see anything like that. And so all I can say is that I hope that it's not, I just want Hangman to be okay. And obviously everybody wants Hangman to be okay. So that's really like all you can say about that. So good match. Sucks that this had to happen because that was very, very scary. So let me know what you guys thought about this. I'll go ahead and pull up some shots. I feel I don't want to usually I'm like happy and peppy on these shows, but when you're talking about something like this, you like, it's not, you just don't feel it, But we have a super chat here from Fluxation 87 who says AEW handled the entire situation very well. I'm glad they stopped it and didn't let Mox touch him. Prayers for Hangman. Exactly. He can have clearly a concussion. And I feel like sometimes you always, and you see this in sports all the time where sometimes it doesn't look like you can kind of tell, right? Like you can definitely tell whether the guy's loopy or whether the person's just like out cold. I know there's been moments where certain athletes say that it's like muscle memory, where if they continue on, once they get a concussion, it's like muscle memory. They just know what they're supposed to do and they kind of roll with the punches. But in situations like this, it's best just to end it, stop it. There's a million people back there working that can do what they need to do to take care of it. And clearly in this situation, like Hangman was just like, there. But thank you so much to Fluxation 87 for getting this super chat in here. I appreciate it. We have a super chat here from Carlos Hreinicke. I hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. I'm sure I did. I'm sorry. Carlos says, switch to direct TV stream. It doesn't go out like the satellite to do whenever it rains or snows. And I don't think there's no delay. Thank you so much for that, because I've been stuck with Sling because it's honestly, it's cheap. I'm not going to lie to you. It's cheap. It's like $30 or $35 a month, something like that. But I use it because it's the only one that I know of that gives me the East Coast feed. I get the East Coast feed here in the West Coast. So I don't know. And then I just couldn't figure out like what else to do. So I'm kind of stuck with Sling for now. But thank you so much to Carlos for the suggestion. I'll probably have to do a little bit more research on that. And let's see what else we got here, because we got a bunch of different comments in here, a lot of well wishes. We have a super chat here from Sheldon Jackson who says MJF has to win at Full Gear. Also, who do you think should win the AEW World Title Eliminator this year? And hopefully Hangman will be back soon and he is okay. For your second question, still don't know yet, but completely agree with MJF having to win at Full Gear. This is definitely his moment to capitalize, and we'll talk more about MJF because he had my favorite moment, and I know people are going to go nuts about this because there was already people getting mad at me on Twitter, but he had my favorite moment in all of wrestling this year, and we'll talk about that in just a hot second. But thank you so much to Sheldon Jackson for sending that in. But let's see what else we got. Let's get some comments. People just saying that they're shocked here. Akayoput did note that obviously he was moving his arms a little bit, which is good. But it is one of those things where you're just, it's definitely good to see movement. Like that's very important. Usually when you see somebody like a player or something get knocked out on the ground or something, like instantly people are like, is he moving? Is he moving? And when you see like any sort of movement, it's like a good thing to see that. But yeah, I definitely think that it was just a scary moment, but they rolled with the punches and they continued to go out and all of that. This is a comment from Andy Finley 86 who says he looked out. Mox and Taz's reaction show it was real. Credit to Paul Turner for acting fast, and more people sending in some very generous comments about Adam Page. And all right, guys, so we'll continue to talk about this as we move forward with the show. But let's go ahead and jump into everything else that occurred on AEW Dynamite. So I want to go into the MJF promo because that was, and I swear to God, I have like this many notes on this promo. So I'm going to try to shrink it down a little bit because this legitimately knocked my socks off. This was it for me. This was the promo of the year. And I know some people, because I know it. People were already coming at me on Twitter like, why? What do you mean this is your promo of the year? What about Bray Wyatt? Well, I'm not talking about Bray Wyatt right now. I already put over that promo. I'm going to talk about this MGF promo because it was legitimately my favorite promo that I have seen all freaking year. And there was so many reasons as to why. And let's just freaking talk about it because I cannot wait. So MJF is in the ring with William Regal. And, they've been telling the story now for the last couple of weeks. We've had a little bit of interactions here and there with William Regal and MJF. And there's always seemed to be like something that MJF wasn't saying or doing in regards to William Regal. Well, he finally let it all out here tonight. And boy, did he let him have it. All right. So he tells this story, and this is why MJF is so good at promos and storytelling, because he tells a story almost like you're reading it on a book. Like you're reading it and it's captivating you to turn the page. He is really good at the words that he uses, the pauses, when he's going to do these, when he's going to yell, when he's not going to yell, when he's going to get fired up. All of the little parts that he does in his delivery of his promos is just like really freaking top notch. So he starts off talking about how he got an opportunity back in the day when he was a young kid in his barely, starting off in wrestling and, doing his thing and working his way because, he wanted to work, well, clearly with WWE, since that was the only company, the biggest company, in town if you want to make a career and have money and all of that good stuff. So he says that he got an opportunity to be a paid WWE extra. And he said that, this was a huge opportunity for him. It was the only show in town. He talks about how he's packed his bag, he packed his suit, and he headed off to Barclays. And he was greeted by William Regal, and told them, him along with the other guys who were also extras, that they were going to be having these tryout matches and they would be paired up with a random opponent. He was in the second match, and he talks about being super nervous because, this was his dream. This was what he was working for. This was his life. This was what he was fighting for because pro wrestling is his life. He says that Arn Anderson was there, Dean Malenko was there, Adam Pearce, and William Regal. And I'm thinking, oh my God, at this point, I'm thinking, what tea is MJF about to break at this moment? What the hell is he going to say? Where is he going with this? So he ends up talking about his entire experience doing this tryout. And he says that after the match was over, he did get the win, that everybody kind of looked at him like he had 8 heads, and that William Regal brought him into a separate room and gave him 3 minutes to sell himself to him. Eventually, Regal tells him, I don't put my name on just about anybody, but I have put my names on guys like Claudio, John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and, someday I want to put my name on you, but basically said they couldn't hire him or do anything with him because he was only 19 years old. So they told him, no, like this is not going to happen. So before he goes, Regal tells him that for MJF to send in every month a promo and a wrestling match. MJF says he did it month 1, he got a response. Month 2, he got a response. And then come month 3, Regal basically sent him an email ending his dreams and telling him that it's not going to happen and that he's clearly hasn't proven himself just yet. He told him, I'm a very busy man. I'm dealing with talent from all over the world. Show me your acting skills, etc. And he basically told him, no, you're done. Your dreams are over here, at least for now. So then this is the point where I thought, holy shit. So MJF is, reading this email on his phone, and he tells William Regal, he gets in his face and he says, you killed my dream. You killed the dream of a 19-year-old boy. And he is so passionate. He's like screaming and yelling and really, really fired up. And then he tells him, that email made me want to kill myself. And I was like, that's it. I don't even know how to respond to that because it was just so freaking real. Stuff like that happens. So to hear him talk about this rejection that he faced, I thought it was like really, really passionate, really freaking good. So he continues on. He starts going off on Regal, telling him he's just an old man here in his company. And now he's a generational talent. He's 26 years old. He's on top of the business. And he said, your former employees would basically take human life just so that I would sign pen to paper with their company. So he says that now he only reads that email to keep himself, to make himself laugh in all of this. And he's going to become AEW World Champion is what MJF says. So at this point, I'm thinking, oh my God, everybody here loves William Regal. And for the most part, you're a fan of William Regal. It's hard to dislike William Regal, okay? It's hard to dislike William Regal at all. At this point of this promo, I thought, you know what? I'm a little upset at William Regal right now. And even the fans, they were chanting like, you fucked up, you fucked up. And I thought, holy shit, this is freaking great. Because it reminded me too of like the Michael Jordan meme where he said like, I took this shit personally. And I felt like this was MJF's I took that shit personally moment. And so I was just like livid for this. All right. I was thinking, how is William Regal going to bounce back from this? I didn't know what he could say. I didn't know what he could say to get him to come back. Like, what kind of a comeback do you have after a man basically tells you he wanted to kill himself because you ruined his dream and you basically dismissed him? How do you come back from that? So Regal basically starts off and tries to like explain to him like he defends himself about the age and why he couldn't go about it that way. And then he kind of buries him by telling him if this email was as bad as it was for you, then you know what? You had it easy. And you're thinking like, holy shit, the guy just said he was going to kill himself and you just told him like he had it easy. That was really, really, really good comeback from William Regal. Then he says, Regal tells him, just because you have money and this and that, you think you've proved yourself? You haven't proved yourself to me. And then there was even a moment where he talks about MJF using the diamond ring. And he says that he used the brass knucks, but he didn't use the brass knucks because he felt the need to cheat. He did it because he wanted to cause pain on other people. And that kind of got like a little pop from the audience as well, like a little chuckle. That was really good. But he tells them, you need to make your name for yourself by doing things right. And then this played into the ending of the show when MJF didn't just cash in his chip when Jon Moxley had just fought a hard battle. Instead, he said, I'm going to do this right and I'm going to do it at Full Gear. So with that being said, this segment from MJF was my favorite promo of the year. And it was my favorite just interaction, segment, moment from everything I had seen this year in wrestling, because I really liked the passion and I loved the storytelling of this. That was my favorite part. The fact that when everything MJF said, you had such a great visual. You can imagine it. You can imagine him basically going backstage and doing his tryout and all of that stuff. So this was really good stuff. And I think it had people feeling like all sorts of emotions, whether you're feeling like you're related to him, because we've all faced, failures and rejections and moments in our life where we thought, you know what, we're going to give up this and that. Our dreams are dead. All of this, we relate to this. And then on top of that, you kind of feel a little angry. And then you can't help but to root for the guy that is, talking about his underdog story. Like, you can't help but to root for a guy who's talking about the worst moment or one of the worst moments in his life and how he overcame that and is now on top of the world. You cannot help but to root for that. So I freaking love this, and I can't wait to see just more. All right, let's see what you guys thought about this. Did you love this promo as much as I did? How did you guys feel about it? How'd you feel about the comeback that William Regal gave to MJF? All of that. So we got a super chat here from Danny Padilla. Thank you so much to Danny, who says, hi, Denise. Hope Hangman is all right. Hope you had a safe flight back. Were you able to get the interview with Vikingo? Thanks, Denise. You're the best. I wasn't able to get the interview with Vikingo because I was doing co-hosting duties with somebody else. So they had Vikingo with him. And so I'm going to probably reach out separately and try to get a one-on-one interview with Vikingo, because I would like to do more of a sit-down type of thing. But thank you so much to Danny Padilla. Carlos sends in another super chat saying, I wonder who AEW will have on the show on November 23rd. I do not know, but thank you for sending this in as well. Carlos also says, oh no, Denise, loves MJF, LOL. Dude, I'm a freaking fan. Like, there hasn't been anything that MJF has done on any of these shows that I didn't like. That's the thing. And I can remember like all of the moments and promos that I really, really loved regarding MJF. And there's so many of them. And the freaking iconic one from the freaking forum, I was there. But it's just, sometimes I even think to myself, oh man, how is MJF going to top this? I always think to myself, how is MJF going to top this? And then somehow, some way, he finds a way. And so that always blows my mind too, because I feel like at some point you keep thinking, oh, the man's going to peak. The man's going to peak. No, he doesn't peak. So anyways, I was a big fan of this, but let me get some thoughts from, see what people are saying here. This is from Discipiro, who says, this promo by MJF just builds on his overall story. I'm excited to see more. The Coyote says, I still think MJF's promo was in the Punk feud, but this was really, really good. Oh man, I loved that promo too. That was a really good one as well. This is from JZon90, who says, love the whole segment. Both played their roles to perfection, and then some. It was gold. Dude, like William Regal could have easily not had like a good comeback, or maybe he could have had a good comeback, but then, you know, it was still could have been MJF's moment to shine, whatever. But legitimately, he went out there and he delivered a twist, and he even basically told him, you got to prove yourself. Mic drop. And when you have a guy go, I can't get over it. When you have a guy go out there and say all these things to you, William Regal was like, nah, bro, you didn't have it that hard. You're still not shit. You ain't shit. You have to prove it to me, and mic drop. I really like that. And then this is from Kiro Hassan, who says, I like this more because of Regal's comeback. Exactly. That was really great. But yeah, there's just a lot of people putting this over as they should. We got Jason also saying that Regal almost won this segment. I saw a couple of people saying that Regal won this segment. I think for me, I'm still going with MJF winning the segment just because, again, I love the storytelling of it. I love the visual descriptions of things. Like, that to me is a win. When you're telling me a story instead of just saying words, but you're actually telling me a story, that to me is like extra bonus points. It's extra bonus points for me, honestly. All right. So that was the MJF Regal segment. Best segment of the show for sure. Now I'm going to revert back to the top of the show, and now I'm going to go in order of events that occurred on Dynamite. So let's get to it, because Dynamite opened up the show with their Trios Championship match, the AEW World Trios Championships on the line, Death Triangle putting their titles up against Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. And Orange Cassidy just became All-Atlantic champion. Congratulations to him. He had a freaking awesome moment last week. This match was exactly what an opener should be with trios like this. Death Triangle, and I'm not even kidding you guys right now, Death Triangle is my current obsession on AEW. Like, the thing that I'm most obsessed with in terms of like in-ring stuff right now, for me, it's Death Triangle, because they always go out there and they pop you with all of the really cool shit that they do, especially Rey Fenix, man. He's always going out there and doing stuff where I'm like, how do you do it? How? And they just work so well together. But the point is that I'm a huge fan of theirs, and they are my current obsession. Senton Atomica from Fenix looked phenomenal. But here's what I want to say, though. This is important. So I want to put over commentary here, because this past weekend on Saturday, Rey Fenix and Pentagon had a freaking both very, very big deal matches in Triple Mania. Very big deal matches. You had Rey Fenix against Hijo del Vikingo, which, for those of you who do not know, Hijo del Vikingo, pretty soon, whenever he comes to the United States and gets a visa and all of that, he will become one of your favorites. The guy is, I don't even know if he's human. Let's just leave it at that. They had a freaking phenomenal match. I got to throw money into the ring for the first time. Thumbs up on that. And then Penta, had a legendary moment, because he ended up winning he ended up taking the mask of the legend Villano Cuatro Beyond the 4, so I'll just say it in English for you guys. He took his mask from him. This man is a legend. He had that mask, wore that mask since he was 15 years old for like 40 years, over 40 years. And now Pentagon ended up taking that mask. So the point is that I'm trying to get here. They were in big deal matchups, and I'm so happy that commentary actually made a note of it on the show. It just really adds to them just a little bit more, just gives it a little bit like, damn, they're going out there when we're not seeing them on AEW television and, doing all these things worldwide, etc. So I really like that they mentioned this during the match, but this was just, spot after spot after spot. We ended up seeing Death Triangle get the win. At one point, Pac tries to use the hammer because he's been trying to, he's been doing that. He hasn't been trying. He's been doing it in his past matches and, getting wins and then not getting wins because of it. So he almost tries to use it here, but it doesn't happen. And Death Triangle does end up getting the win. This was a fun match, guys. This was a really fun matchup. It was exactly what it needed to be. Just a bunch of freaking fun spots, a little of the storytelling there with the hammer, and I just don't want there to be like an issue with Penta and Ray and Pac with him using the hammer. I hope that they just don't have any issue there because I just want to see them freaking thrive as a team. I love this. This was good shit, guys. All right, so let's see what we got here. We got Marvin putting over this match, saying it was really, really great. And more people just really saying that there's just all sorts of, positive things about this match. We got Mark Mia says, I love that match so much. It was a very good one. Yeah, completely agree with everyone here. And it was as expected. Moving on. I want to talk about this one because this one kind of had a lot of different things happen here. So this was for the AEW Interim Women's Championship. And we had Hikarashida taking on Toni Storm, your interim champion. So first and foremost, part of me, I almost feel that because Toni Storm is the interim champion, it's hard to imagine her losing the interim championship because we're all expecting for her to, and again, this really depends on how long Thunder Rosa is going to be out. But if she's not going to be out for long, then a lot of us are expecting to see Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa or maybe, Toni Storm, Thunder Rosa, and somebody else eventually in a triple threat or something so that they can officially crown an AEW women's champion or have Thunder Rosa retain, whatever the plan is going to be later on. But it is still part of me wanted to see a title change here because, again, it's the interim championship. So part of me did want to see it, but then I thought, well, because it's the interim champion, I don't know if people are going to react the same way as if it wasn't the interim championship. I didn't know what the fan reaction might be in that scenario. Like, part of me wanted to just be surprised and have something unexpected happen in the situation. And the thing that I feel lately has been happening is that I feel we've been seeing a lot more appreciation out there for Hikarashida because we already know that, her reign didn't necessarily go as many people would have hoped. We already know that story, right? And I feel like a lot of people could have easily been like, let's not have Shida champion. Let's not have her be champion again because been there, done that. But I feel based on like fan commentary on social media or just general fan reactions in the crowd that the people want to kind of see Shida as champion. Today, the crowd was 50-50. They were split on Toni and Shida, and Toni hasn't necessarily won the crowd over in a dramatic fashion just yet. So I do feel like it wouldn't have been so bad had they had Shida actually win this match. And this was a good one too. Toni, every time she hits the hip attack, she gets a freaking reaction out of me. Beautiful freaking drop kick from Shida during this match. We saw a really great suplex from Toni Storm, a German suplex from her. We saw a Meteora from Shida, good stuff all around in terms of the action. An awesome DDT from Toni Storm. I loved all of that. We saw the Storm Zero on Shida, and that's how she ends up retaining and staying interim champion. But I kind of wanted this match to go even a little bit longer, or I want to see another Shida Toni Storm match because I feel this match was good and it was solid, but it never peaked. It never had this moment where like it was good, and it was going, and then it just went to the finish. So I would have liked a longer version of this match because I think that they could have definitely delivered even more. And I was enjoying it. So when when Toni hit the Storm Zero, I thought, oh, maybe she'll kick out. Maybe she'll kick out or something, but she didn't. So I kind of felt like a little bit, oh, well, the match is over now. Dang. But that's because I was enjoying it. I was legitimately enjoying Toni Storm and Shida during this. So I do want to see this match again. Post-match, we had Britt Baker. Then we had Jamie and freaking Rebel come out and, go in on the attack. Finally, Britt Baker comes in there, but Saraya comes out and she gets a really nice reaction. She goes out there and freaking just tackles down Britt Baker, but oh, I forgot to say one thing. Freaking shout out to Britt, though, because when she came out with her Steelers jersey, she was getting so much heat from the crowd and she was so happy. Girl was glowing out there. She was thriving in all of the heat that she was getting. It was marvelous. But anyway, so her and Saraya go at it on the outside. So that was good to see because, we already know that that's the story right now is Britt and Saraya, and that's bound to take off at some point. So far, we've only seen little brawls here and there. So I do hope they, I don't know if I should say speed it up, but we want to see a little bit more than just the brawls because I think just just them brawling on the outside is getting a little bit old. So I do want to see it go just a little bit more, right? Try something new or do something a little bit different the following week. So we'll see what happens there. But we see Rijo. Rijo comes in after this and she ends up going in there. I forgot who she got a crossbody on. God damn, I forgot. So somebody in the chat put that in there. But she hits a beautiful crossbody. I forget who it was on. But afterwards, she ends up just like fist bumping Toni Storm. They walk out like best friends for life. And it was nice to see Rijo out there. So I'm curious to see like, okay, what are they doing here with Rijo and Toni Storm? Thank you so much for the chat. The crossbody was on Jamie Hayter. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys. So yeah, the action was good. They kept it going. These last I'm going to say 3 weeks. I think it's been 3 weeks now. The women's segments on AEW the last 3 weeks have been stellar. They have been really great. They've been keeping them interesting. We saw a lot of different angles here, a lot of different people, with when you have Rijo going in there and partnering up with Toni Storm, then you have Britt and Saraya. So it's just a lot of different things that are happening, a lot of different moving pieces, and I do enjoy seeing that in this segment. So I'm glad. Keep it going. I feel like they're on a streak right now. They're getting a little bit of more momentum for the women's stuff on their show. So I really enjoyed this. All right, guys, so let's continue on. Before I do, just a heads up, everybody, if you do want to get your question, comment, or statement read on the show, please feel free to send in a super chat. I will make sure to read your comments. On top of that, it helps out the show. It helps keep me funded here. So I do very much appreciate any super chats that come my way. Thank you so much. Let's move on. So we do get a backstage segment in which Keith Lee and Swerve are going to be taking on freaking FTR. Excuse me, I had a blank moment there. They're going to be taking on FTR. But my favorite thing about this was, why the hell did Swerve just take away Keith Lee's apple? Why did he take his apple away? He seemed bothered that Keith Lee was eating an apple. And he just took it from him. He had like the face like, oh, like, give me that. Why are you eating that? And I don't know what Swerve was eating. I don't know if they were like peanuts or something because I couldn't see the front, but it looked like a little bag of peanuts. So I thought it was funny that Swerve came out eating the peanuts and that Keith Lee came out eating the apple and Swerve just took his apple. Sorry, I pay attention to stuff like this and I thought it was freaking hilarious. Also, sharing apples with people is pretty gross. Like, I would not bite another person's apple after they already bit that apple. So we need to talk about sanitation there, guys. Ooh, a little not interesting, a little not ideal. That's what I'm trying to get at. All right, guys. Yeah, he did take a bite, by the way. That's what I just said. It's funny. We have a backstage brawl between Jay Lethal and Darby, and you just never know what Darby's gonna do when he's back there. You're always thinking he seems like the guy that's just this crazy shit. You're going to do this. You're going to do this to me. This is the crazy shit we're going to do today. And we had Darby literally get smashed by Jay Lethal with the garage they're obviously in an arena, but the garage door gets brought down and smacked on Darby's midsection, and Darby's just laying there, half his head inside the building and then his body on the outside of the building. And we all know that Darby does some crazy stuff. So this was, to me, I popped for this, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I popped for this. A couple years ago, I was closing my garage, and like an idiot, I got 3 fingers, just this portion of my fingers, stuck in one of the cracks of the garage door, because instead of using the handle, I used my hand to pull down the garage door, and my 3 fingers got stuck in there. And let me tell you, I cried my eyes out because that was so much pain. So I think seeing Darby underneath the garage door gave me brought back some trauma for me. So this really went over well for me. And then Jay Lethal gets him with the figure 4. So it's kind of a cool visual because, again, half his body's inside and then his other half is on the outside, and then the other half is locked into a figure 4. So this was great stuff. I loved the attack that they did there with Jay Lethal and with Darby. We got a super chat here from Uriel Landaros. Thank you so much to Uriel. He says, just showing a little support. Stop being stingy dudes and gals. Sure hope Hangman is okay. Death Triangle and Best Friends killed it. Thank you so much to Uriel for sending this in. Again, do hope Hangman is okay. And I don't know if there's been any new updates posted on Twitter just yet, but man, it sucks. Really sucks. And yes, Death Triangle and Best Friends definitely killed it. Danny Padilla sends in a super chat saying that hip attack from Toni as killer looks devastating every time. Dude, gets a reaction out of me every single time. It's kind of silly because that's clearly one of her move sets that she always does. You always see her doing the hip attack, but every time she does it, I'm like, oh yeah, Toni does the hip attack, and oh yeah, it looks badass. So it just kind of gets that reaction out of you. Thank you to Danny Padilla for sending this in. We got a super chat here from Carlos who says, who wins, Jade Cargill or Toni Storm, champ versus champ? If they were to go about it, I would say Jade Cargill. Because they're keeping Jade Cargill strong, and I think she still needs that. She needs that a little bit more, I think, than Toni Storm. And so I would go with Jade Cargill. I just feel like they've just put a lot of, they put all the cookies in her basket. So I would probably go with Jade Cargill. All right. Moving on from here, guys. All right. I already talked about MJF William Regal. So if you missed that, rewind, because I talked about that earlier. We have another backstage segment where Renee Paquette does an interview with Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta. And this was fun. So I want to shout out the camera work for this, because we always see whenever it's almost the same formula sometimes when they're like the terms of like how they shoot these interviews. It's like interviewer, you get the shot of the interviewer asking the question, right? And then you get the shot of the person answering the question. I liked that they did something a little different during this. And while the person was talking, they showed Renee's reaction to what the person was saying. So it was something little, but little stuff like that just adds to whatever is happening on the screen. And so many times with like a lot of companies do this, where you have the backstage segment and the interviewer's asking the question and the interview says, hey, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, once the mic goes to the person, interviewer gone. You don't even see that person, right? And then all of a sudden they're back again. So it was just a small little thing that they did with production for this that I thought this is something worth noting. Renee asked Bryan about losing to Jericho. He says clearly it wasn't ideal, and he still has high hopes for Daniel Garcia. Bless Bryan Danielson's heart for still seeming to be like forgiving of Daniel Garcia and what Daniel Garcia did to him. So he says, under the right guidance, he can be the best wrestler ever. And I'm like, well, bless your heart, Bryan Danielson, for being super nice about it. Wheeler Yuta's a little bit more on the, you should have seen it coming. I saw it coming a mile away. So Wheeler Yuta, over that bullshit. He ain't falling for it. So I loved Wheeler Yuta's reaction during this, because he was like, nah, you're out here putting over Daniel Garcia. Fuck that. I'm not going to do that. Should have seen it coming. Come on, bro. So I want to shout out Wheeler Yuta because he actually popped me with his reaction there. So shout out there. All right, guys. We have another match to talk about, and then we got to get into some announcements and then also get into the matches that were announced. So we got a Ring of Honor World Championship match between Chris Jericho and Dalton Castle. This was a fun match. The crowd really got into it. I want to put over Dalton Castle for doing all of the fun stuff. He was, dancing out there with the boys and doing all of that. It popped me. It made me laugh. All of his little shtick that he did, it made me laugh. But I will say this, though. The match was good. I thought the match was good. Do not get me wrong. But I feel ever since the Bandito Chris Jericho match, the bar is set a little bit higher. And I don't think that this match necessarily met the bar of that Jericho Bandito match. And some people may disagree, but that's how I felt about it. And so I wasn't really as invested in this one as I was with the Jericho Bandito match. So because of that, the bar to me is just set a little bit higher there. So either way, it was still fine, and the crowd was definitely interested in it. Jericho goes off and he says he wants to get rid of everybody from Ring of Honor. Jerry Lynn comes out, he tries to cut some sense into him, and Jericho ends up giving him a really, really kind of a little bit of a rough looking tombstone pile driver. It didn't look super smooth, but it was done. And that was that. So fun stuff around. I love Jericho doing the whole anti-Ring of Honor stuff and everything that Ring of Honor stands for. That's what he's been doing. I like it. It's working. Fun for all of that. All right. Oh, and also I should mention this now. Well, we all know because this broke earlier today, and this is really freaking great news for AEW. Jericho signed an extension with AEW, and he's going to be with them till December 2025. That's still 3 more years with the company, and he's already mentoring young talent, but I guess he's just going to continue doing that. And he's also going to be producing and being, advising and whatnot. So really, really great news. I think that coming off of so much negative press that AEW was getting like over the last couple of months, for them to get, the news out that Jon Moxley signed an extension, then Chris Jericho signing an extension. Those are things that you want to get out there to just kind of change a little bit of the perception of what you've been seeing for the last couple of weeks, really since really a lot of it since All Out. So speaking of Ring of Honor, guys, the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view has officially been announced. So earlier today, Tony Khan did an interview with Sports Illustrated, and he basically told them there that there was going to be another pay-per-view at the end of this year. So a lot of people pretty much assumed like, okay, it's most likely going to be in December, and it's most likely going to be Final Battle, since that's what the company traditionally did before. So that was the assumption, but you just never know because clearly, new owner and all of this. So it is going to be Ring of Honor Final Battle, and it is going to be in December. It's going to be December 10th in Arlington, Texas at 3 p.m. Central Time, which is actually really early, and I'm wondering if there's anything to that. I'm curious why they're doing it so early. I don't know. Clearly, I don't think they've said anything recently, but it is interesting though. But there you go, Ring of Honor Final Battle. This will be the third Ring of Honor under the new ownership of Tony Khan. Then something I can get excited about, and something that all people in Los Angeles can get excited about. AEW is returning to LA, guys. The Kia Forum, January 11th, kicking off the year in the West Coast. Hell freaking yes. Now, I'm excited because we see AEW go to like so many of the same cities over and over and over again. And there's still so many cities that haven't even got it in AEW, or maybe got one and didn't get another one. There's still so many people waiting for their turn. LA has only gotten one show. What? And that was the one where MJF cut that infamous promo where he called Tony Khan a mark and walked out and this and that, right? The Forum is a great venue. We've talked about this before. If you've been to the show, it's a great venue. It was a good show. They were really, really loud. The crowd was freaking hyped. Glad they're returning to the Forum. January 11th. Hell yes. Excited for that. Daniel Padilla sends in a super chat saying Jericho said he wants to beat every former Ring of Honor champ in a match between him and Joe. Could be great. Are you kidding me? Yes. Hello. Sorry, I'm trying to get my Samoa Joe shirt to be. Oh wait, hold on. Let me do this. Oh crap, I forgot that was there. Whatever. My Samoa Joe shirt kicks ass, all right? That's what I was trying to show the people here. Thank you so much to Danny Padilla for sending that in here. All right, everybody. So let's quickly go over the matches that were announced for Rampage and for Dynamite, and then we'll be going into NXT. So AEW Rampage for this Friday. I will be here this Friday to talk about both SmackDown and Rampage. And SmackDown has dramatically improved. So I'm so excited to talk about that show now every week. Thank goodness. So come in here this Friday for that. I am live 3 times a week here, by the way. On Tuesdays, I'm here for NXT. Wednesdays, I'm here for AEW Dynamite. It's usually my most lit show of the week. And then Friday, SmackDown and Rampage. All right, so Rampage this week, the Acclaimed versus the Varsity Athletes AEW Tag Team title versus Trademark. So that's going to be, no, I was going to say that's going to be interesting, but not really, because the Acclaimed has to win. And if the Acclaimed doesn't win, I mean, I think we'd riot. It would be a very big disappointment. So definitely the Acclaimed winning that. Willow Nightingale versus Penelope Ford. Happy to see Willow Nightingale get another one-on-one. I'm assuming this is just going to be a nice way for Willow to get a victory. Good for her. Hell yeah. Roosh versus Dark Order's 10, Preston Vance. So I'm saying this one with a smile because we all know that Andrade was supposed to be the one to wrestle 10, to wrestle Preston Vance. And well, we all know what happened after that and why that match didn't end up happening. But no fear, Roosh is here and Roosh is going to do the match with him. Hook defends the FTW championship against Ari Daivari. Always happy to see Hook in action. All right. AEW Dynamite next week. They've announced some pretty good matches. I'm looking forward to that. Again, Dynamite will be back on normal day, Wednesday next week. So that's good to know. FTR versus Swerve in Our Glory. I'm really looking forward to this match. I think this one will be really fun. This is going to be for the #1 contendership to the AEW World Titles. This is going to be a good match. That's going to be match of the night for sure. Rijo versus Jamie Hayter. That should be fun. Happy to see Rijo in one-on-one action. Oh, and Jamie Hayter, clearly, since she is she's the popular girl right now. She's the it girl. She's the one that everybody loves right now. So this definitely has to be a win, I think, for Jamie Hayter. But we'll see what they decide on. Chris Jericho and Daniel Garcia versus Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. That should be a really solid match, too. That should be a fun one. Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara. This has the Penelope. This has the possibility of also being probably match of the night. My picks for potential match of the night, FTR and Swerve in Our Glory. And if not, Bryan Danielson and Sammy Guevara, I think will also really, really deliver. So that's kind of where I'm at on all of that. All right, guys. So that was AEW Dynamite here today. Before we get into NXT, we do have a quick word here from our sponsors. So let's get this going here for a hot second. I'm really excited to talk to you. Oops, I went the wrong way. Oh my God. I'm going to start all over. Why didn't anyone tell me I went the wrong way? All right, here we go. So for all of you here on the show, do you ever get frustrated that you can't watch certain live sporting events because they aren't televised or available in your country? I know I do, especially me because I'm always traveling and sometimes I get FOMO and I don't like to miss out on, live events and whatnot. I want to see what I want to see, even if I'm in another part of the world. Well, with NordVPN, you can now switch your virtual location to a country that is showing the sporting event that you want to watch. So don't miss out and you can literally watch all of the action live from wherever you are. like I said, I'm personally traveling all the time, and now having the ability to change my location has legitimately been a game changer for me. So now I don't have to worry about missing anything that I actually want to watch. Now, I had heard that VPNs are great for online protection, but that they slow down your internet speed. However, luckily for me and luckily for you, NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and you don't even notice it running, so you can stream and game online with no buffering and no lagging whatsoever for your internet speed. Furthermore, NordVPN prevents your internet service provider from bandwidth throttling, so you consistently have reliable internet connection, which is great because bad internet connection, not a good thing. It's a small price to pay for premium cybersecurity and access to a vast amount of entertainment content from all over the world. So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going over to nordvpn.com/F4W to get a huge discount off of your NordVPN plan, plus 4 months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. I have included the link in the description box below, so if you guys just want to head on over to nordvpn.com/F4W, you could either type it into your browser or you can click in the link that I have added in the description box of this video. Again, head on over to nordvpn.com/F4W and get yourself your big exclusive discount. And on top of that, those 4 additional months for free. NordVPN.com/F4W. Oh, God. Oh. All right. I'm trying to get better at these live reads, guys. All right. Here we go. Let's get some super chats in here. We got Danny Padilla who says, a fellow hardcore Joe fan. Love the shirt, girl. Just when I thought you couldn't be any more awesome. Thank you so much, Danny. I've always said this. People always ask me what my favorite match in pro wrestling is or what my favorite match ever is. And I always have the same answer because it's always the same match and I haven't changed it just yet. And it's always, until some other match replaces it, it's always Samoa Joe and Kenta Kobashi from Ring of Honor. So, yeah, I love Samoa Joe. I really do. I remember when I interviewed him for the first time. Holy Jesus, was I nervous. I was like, hi. Danny Padilla, thank you very much for the super chat. We have Cal who says, Mox seemed jealous MJF stole the crowd at the end. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think, or maybe I wasn't noticing that at all because I was really just so focused on what had happened with Hangman Page, and I was so focused on how they were going to find a way to stall for time. And once you actually saw it unraveling, you were like, okay, this is what they're going with. But I didn't notice that he had any sort of jealousy. I don't think MJF has to have any. I mean, I don't think Jon Moxley has to have any sort of jealousy because the man is over. The man is over. Thank you, Cal, very much for the super chat, by the way. Really, really appreciate that. All right, guys. Let's get into NXT. So we have a couple of items to talk about. There's only a couple of things that we're going to get into for today. And I want to talk about really the main things that happened on the show. And they really stacked up this episode of NXT. They really did. I thought for the most part, they had a lot of, the show kept you going. Like there wasn't a moment where you tuned out. They kept it going with like interesting appearances, just really keeping the show flow going. All right. The only time, so for the most part, how I watch these shows simultaneously is I mute one. So I didn't listen to a lot of the NXT commentary today because I had the AEW commentary on, and then I pause certain things whenever something else gets my attention more. I pause the other thing so that I don't miss it, right? And then afterwards I catch up with those leftover minutes that I paused. So when the MGF promo is going on, Man, I fell so behind on NXT, but then I came back afterwards. So here we go. Let's talk about this one here. The show kicked off with Roxanne Perez versus Rhea Ripley. So as you guys know, Roxanne and Cora Jade, they've been doing their feud, and heading into NXT Halloween Havoc, they decided to do a pick your poison match where both girls ended up going to Raw and SmackDown and finding opponents for the other person to face. And Cora Jade chose Rhea Ripley to come in to face Roxanne Perez. This was a fun match. This was what it needed to be in terms of what's the main thing we know about Roxanne Perez. She's good, she has a lot of heart, and she's very passionate, and she's lovable. That's what we know about Roxanne Perez. And to me, that's what they told in this match. Rhea Ripley is a main roster woman. She is a former, Raw Women's Champion. She is a champ. She is obviously at another level. So you can't have Rhea Ripley go out there and lose to Roxanne Perez. They were going to have to find a way to not have her lose to Roxanne. But in doing so, they had Rhea Ripley literally just beat the crap out of Roxanne throughout the majority of this match. She was woman handling her, and it worked because of their size advantage. Like, the size difference between Roxanne and Rhea is so drastic. I've stood next to Rhea. I've stood next to Roxanne. Roxanne and I are about the same height. Rhea, I'm like half of Rhea's body. So that should kind of tell you a little bit of the size difference there. So this entire match, Roxanne, she tries to bring her down, but at some point she really just can't. And Rhea's the one that dominates this entire match. There was a portion where Rhea practically headbutted Roxanne in her gut. It looked really brutal, honestly. But she continued to beat her up, and Roxanne had some moments where she hit her with a couple of uppercuts, but it wasn't until Rhea went for a spear, but Roxanne moved out of the way, and Rhea ate shit. She just went flying out of the ring. And then finally, Roxanne went out there and hit her with a dive. So they did give her a little bit of the upper hand just about midway during this match, but it really didn't get to last long. It didn't really last long because as she was fighting and fighting, Dominic distracts Roxanne Perez, and so this allows Rhea Ripley to get the win and defeat Roxanne Perez. And the final image in how you see Rhea Ripley pin Roxanne Perez, go and look at that if you missed it. I think you might enjoy it. But this was a good match. I love the story that they told here. The story that they told here was Roxanne was not giving up, even though she was getting beat by somebody way bigger than her. She has a big heart, and she wasn't giving up. That was the gist of that. So this was perfectly fine. All right. We had a backstage segment that was really funny. Another one, because we had one on Raw when Cameron Grimes essentially asked the OC to come and be his partner on NXT. And the whole thing is that they said yes because Cameron Grimes was going to pay them cash, and they only did it for the money. They didn't do it because they cared for Cameron Grimes. No, they did it for the money. So they have this backstage segment where Cameron Grimes is like, I've got you the paper. And so he puts the money in Gallows's face, and Gallows, I swear to God, starts smelling the money, starts smelling the paper bills. This was freaking hilarious. I feel like both Gallows and Anderson are doing a great job with the comedy, but Gallows to me is just so freaking funny. To me, he's the funniest one. And you've been seeing it on Raw, and then you saw it here on NXT. Chucky frightens Grayson Waller and basically announces that match with him and Apollo Crews is going to be spin the wheel, make a deal matchup. So, Channing Stacks Lorenzo, we had known that Tony D'Angelo was going to be bringing in a mystery opponent for Stacks, and we didn't know who the opponent was going to be. But he told Lorenzo last week, you're going to know your opponent the second his music hits, and that should have been a huge a huge tip for us because it ended up being none other than Shinsuke Nakamura. Shinsuke hasn't been on NXT, I think, since like 2017. So it's been a very long time. He got the big welcome back chance to NXT. And this match was longer than honestly most of us even really needed it to be. But I think they really just did it just to have Shinsuke Nakamura obviously on the show, but not only have him on the show, but not have him on the show just for a minute, give him a little bit more time. So this match was a little bit, this could have easily been a really fast squash, but they elongated it a little bit more than they had to, but they did it anyway. Shinsuke Nakamura gets the win. Nothing much else to there. This was really just to get a pop from the crowd. And, clearly because they're going up against AEW, so they were going to want to have some big names on the show. And Shinsuke Nakamura was definitely one of those. Before we continue on, everybody, heads up, if you want to get your comments, questions, or statements read on the show, get your thoughts in about NXT, you're more than welcome to send in a super chat at any point, and I will make sure to pull those up. After this, we got Sonya Deville versus Alba Fire. This was Sonya Deville being like really disrespectful to Alba Fire and kind of shoving her face right at the beginning. She even gets her with a headbutt and a slap to the chest. So she's being Alba Fire gets Sonya Deville with a headbutt and a slap to the chest. So it was a nice start to this match. Really, it was. Toxic Attraction does interfere, and they essentially beat up. They all beat up Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville, by the way, is only there because Mandy Rose wasn't there last week because we had mentioned that her brother passed away. And so she wasn't there last week. And Sonya Deville basically was out there saying, yeah, I know Mandy Rose and I have had our differences, but because she's still my best friend, I'm here. If these are her girls, they're my girls too. So that's why Sonya Deville was essentially in this match against Alba Fire, because Mandy Rose will be facing Alba Fire at NXT Halloween Havoc. So with that being said, we finally have Mandy Rose come out, and I missed all of Mandy Rose's promos. I can't even tell you what was said here. Unfortunately, that happened the exact same time. She didn't say much, actually. She didn't say much now that I go back and think about it. Try to remember what she actually said. Someone in the chat, give me this. Because this was the exact same time when Mandy Rose came out. This was when MJF was starting his promo on Dynamite. So I kind of fell off the wagon a little bit here. But either way, it's nice to see Sonya Deville on the show. I really liked how she looked coming out with JC Jane and Gigi Dolan. They looked cool, man. They looked cool. I would even like it if maybe they did this thing where, because we've had the history we've seen Sonya and Mandy go at it before. We saw their whole feud. That feud with Sonya and Mandy, to me, made me like Sonya Deville more, and it made me like Mandy Rose more. So I wouldn't mind if they revisited that. And I would think it'd be kind of cool if they did something where they had Mandy Rose and Sonya kind of fighting for who was going to be the leader of Toxic Attraction, and kind of having like Gigi and JC a little bit torn, not knowing which direction to go. I would kind of like to see something like that, especially given what Sonya Deville looked like today with Gigi and JC coming out with her. They looked pretty badass, man. I was a fan of that. But thank you so much. We got a super chat here from Carlos who says, if I'm right, that was your first live read, right? No, it wasn't. Oh my God, was it that bad? Was that bad? Oh, this is bad. All right. Thank you, Carlos. You know what? Never mind. I was going to say something else about reading live reads, but given that you asked if that was the first one, it tells me everything I need to know. All right. We got a super chat here from Carlos as well. It says, oh, come on, Denise, you're the queen of live reads. Thank you very much, man. I try. It's hard. You guys try memorizing things and not making it so obvious that you're reading from a script. Seriously, try that. And the script is pretty long, and I obviously use my own words and whatnot, but still, it is a little tough. But thank you to Carlos. Next time I'm going to do what Sean does, cover my face so no one sees me reading the live read. That's what I'm going to do next time. I made a mistake by showing my face. I'm not going to show my face no more. Keith Duran sends in a super chat saying, who do you think won tonight's head-to-head, NXT or AEW? Ooh, Keith Duran asking the hard questions. All right, before I give my answer, My answer is AEW. My answer is AEW, point blank. But I don't want that to be taken poorly because I did think that this was a good episode of NXT. I thought with them bringing out all the people that they did, the OC, Kevin Owens, Sonya Deville, Shinsuke Nakamura, etc., I thought that they made it really feel like a big deal. It felt like if you were an NXT fan and this is a show that you watch, this felt like a show you had to tune into. It felt like a big deal show. And it was a good go-home show for Halloween Havoc. So I don't want to dismiss the show because I did think it was a good one, especially given that I watch all of weekly NXT and I've seen what they've done in the past. And I thought that this show was good. And especially if you've been following NXT and you know all the storylines and you know who's feuding with who, it was a good show for the people that know and have been following all of these stories and have, started to care about the people that you're seeing on the show. But that being said, though, AEW to me was the show of the night, but that still doesn't take away from what NXT put out here tonight. Thank you so much to Keith Duran for asking the hard questions. Really not the hard questions, but asking the problematic questions. Because there you go. I appreciate you, man. All right, guys. And let's see what else we got here. All right, where am I getting into? We did see, and this one I'm not going to comment too much on because I want to continue moving forward because there's still so much to talk about. But Wesley Oromenza teamed up to take on Hayes and Trick Williams. Hayes did get the win for its team. He pinned Wesley. It's still not looking good for Wesley, man. It's interesting because Wesley's still the guy people want to see something happen for him. Like, we're rooting for him, we care about the guy. You're rooting for him. You like Wesley. But hasn't been looking too good for him the last couple, ever since the whole controversy with MSK. So this kind of just, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams have to get the win, and Carmelo Hayes is heading into that ladder match on Halloween Havoc for the belt that was originally his before they gave it to Solo Sikoa for like a night. So he definitely had to get the win here, and Hayes had to get the win, but I don't know how I feel about them pinning Wesley. But then at the same time, Oro Menza is just getting started. I don't know. It just kind of I don't know. It just hasn't been looking too good for Wesley lately. Really doesn't. All right, moving on from here. The OC teaming up with Cameron Grimes. As I mentioned earlier, they had how this all came about, taking on the Schism. This was a fun match. I liked this one. And again, I want to put over Gallows. Dude is freaking fun. And I like seeing him wrestle. I like seeing him go in there. Grimes did start off the match. I love the way they started off pretty hot. There was a moment where Gallows clothesline Fowler, and that was a pretty good clothesline as well. So that was something that stood out to me during this match here. But we ended up seeing the OC execute the Magic Killer, and that's how they end up winning this match here. So thumbs up. Move Cameron Grimes to the main roster. That's all I've got to say. Quincy Elliott versus Zion Quinn. This was Quincy. I think this might have been Quincy Elliott's first match on NXT. No, I don't remember. This may have been this first match because he had the moment where he came. No, I think this was his second match because he had the moment. And sorry, I wasn't listening to commentary. So they said it on commentary that I completely missed it because I wasn't listening to commentary for today's show. But Quincy Elliott had the moment. So he debuted and he did the whole dancing bit. There was a moment where he spanked Hank Walker's butt. And that's literally all I remember from Quincy Elliott and the Super Diva stuff. I don't remember a match, which should tell you if there was a match, then damn. Thank you. Marvin says second match, Denise. Shit. I don't remember his first match. Oof. All right. Well, there you go. That should tell you. I don't know what that tells you. I don't know what to tell you about this one. All right. But no, honestly, from what I saw here today, though, he went out there and he basically just did the typical big guy stuff that you would expect from Quincy Elliott. He won with the Diva drop. It was good. And because of this, he's now going to be one of the hosts for NXT Halloween Havoc. So not only is he going to be one of the hosts, but Shotzi Blackheart is also going to be one of the hosts. And I think everybody knew that Shotzi would be the host. She was the host for the last time too. And she does a great job at it. She screams Halloween, like she said. She said this in her promo. She screams Halloween. And she really, really does. But honestly, it's going to be fun with Quincy Elliott because he has a very, very larger than life, flamboyant type of personality. So it's going to be fun to see that mixed in with Shotzi Blackheart. And I think they found a good way for him to, showcase his super diva personality. Man, I'm trying to remember. So she hosted the year before that. Whatever year, Shotzi Blackheart, she hosted one of the Halloween Havocs. I forget which one. Or she might have done two. Pretty sure I've seen her do it more than once. It's all a blur now. It's all a blur to me. All I remember is the really, really big crimped hair that she did, the green. When she crimped in, she had the red bodysuit. When she did the red bodysuit and the big crimped hair, I remember that. All right, thank you. Last year was Knight and Waller. Oh, yeah, because I remember they had that weird match to see who was going to be. They had the whole thing where it was LA Knight, who was apparently stuck in traffic. And so they gave the hosting responsibilities to Grayson Waller. But then afterwards, it ended up being both of them being the host. I remember now. Yeah, that wasn't too good. But yeah, there you go. I remember now. Thank you very much, everybody. She just hosted 2020. I love it. You guys remember everything. All right, moving on from this. We got Andre Chase University. Thea, she's depressed about her loss to Kiana. She begs Andre for another match. He says he's going to talk to her later about it. He recaps some Halloween Havoc moments. Chucky pops up, calls them the Mickey Mouse Club. I love Chucky on the show. I want Chucky each and every single week. That's enough. Chucky was the highlight of this. I'm not an Andre Chase University gal. I'm a Chucky gal. Also, kudos to Liv Morgan because Liv Morgan is going to be on the Chucky TV series. I forget what date, but she's going to be doing the Chucky TV series. I'm very excited to see her. I'm assuming she's going to get killed by Chucky. That just seems like what's going to happen. So I'm excited to see that. I think she said that in an interview too, that her dream is just to get killed by Chucky. All right. Zeno Hour says, make Chucky the next, the NXT GM. YT says, Chucky cursing out the whole class was funny. It was. I don't remember Chucky coming out last year, but I don't even remember what he did. Don't even remember. God. All right. Raquel versus Cora Jade in the Pick Your Poison match. Like we mentioned earlier, we had Roxanne, Perez, and Rhea Ripley. This time we had Raquel and Cora Jade because that was who Roxanne picked for Cora Jade. This one here was almost a little bit similar, but a little bit different too, because they did have Raquel trying to, basically, she did have the size advantage on Cora Jade too. Cora Jade's not as tiny as Roxanne Perez, but she's still tinier than Raquel because Raquel's just, a lot taller and she's just, bigger. And so you did see a little bit of that play into this match too, but not so much in the way that you saw it play into Rhea and Roxanne's match. With that being said, we end up seeing, and I didn't totally love the finish, and this is why. So Cora brings in the pipe, the steel pipe or whatever the hell it is. She brings out this pipe, and she's going to use it on Raquel, but Raquel stops her. She blocks her from using it, and instead, Raquel just goes and uses it on her, and so she ends up getting disqualified. And at first, I'm thinking, okay, well, that makes sense. She just wants to beat, she just wants to beat Cora Jade because her job out here is to basically weaken Cora Jade ahead of her match with Roxanne Perez, right? Like that's the purpose. That's the thing. But you also want to see her lose, right? So she can go into the match feeling discouraged. That's Roxanne's hopes. But Raquel, but Roxanne is the baby face and Raquel was out there representing Roxanne Perez because that was Roxanne's Perez won, but she won in a heelish way. She got herself DQ'd by using the freaking the metal pipe or the freaking thing. So I didn't think it made a total sense for Raquel to get herself DQ'd like that and then afterwards be all celebrating with the babyface Roxanne Perez. So I did kind of feel that that was a little bit not too on par with heels and faces and all of that, if that's something you want to get into. So I wasn't totally in love with the finish, but whatever. Cora Jade wins because Raquel got herself DQ'd. Now, last but not least, we have Kevin Owens mediating Braun Breaker, Dragunov, and JD McDonough because they're all going to be in a triple threat for Halloween Havoc for the title. It's the big match that's happening. I'm very excited. This was them going back and forth, talking shit to each other. Ilya ends up being the guy after they brawl. Ilya is the guy holding up the championship belt. And I'm thinking, ooh, I don't know if that's a good sign. That may not be a good sign. You're probably telling me that Ilya's not going to win, and Ilya's my pick for this match. Okay. He's raising the belt. They have Austin Theory come out. Austin Theory, as you all know, is Money in the Bank champion. So Austin Theory comes out. He raises the Money in the Bank briefcase, and they tease a possible cash-in from Austin Theory for the NXT Championship on Halloween Havoc. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm 50-50. I'm thinking no because they already teased it here tonight. But then I think to myself, I want Ilya Dragunov to be the champion, right? But part of me, again, this depends on whether or not Braun Breaker is going to be going to the main roster or not, and when he's going to be going to the main roster. I know a lot of us, if Braun Breaker loses the title at Halloween Havoc, the first assumption is going to be, oh, Braun Breaker's going to the main roster, right? So I'm wondering, I don't know if they want Ilya Dragunov to be champion. I want Ilya Dragunov to be champion, but I don't know that they want Ilya Dragunov to be champion. So I could see them giving it to Austin Theory because I'm not expecting Austin Theory right now to be a SmackDown champion or Raw, to be a WWE champion, Universal champion. It's not going to happen right now. So I do think there's a possibility he could cash in for the NXT championship, but I have a feeling that I'm torn. I'm a little bit 50-50. If this was supposed to throw me off, it completely did. It completely did. Austin Theory fits being NXT champion. With what they're doing right now with the NXT, Austin Theory fits that description. So I do feel like Theory could be champion there. I can see it. I can definitely see it. But he's a main roster guy. So, and they're not going to not have him on the main roster. For the most part, he's been a featured person on the main roster. So if he were to go in and let's just say he were to cash in and win the NXT championship, then what? Is he on both rosters? What are they going to do there? You know, what's going to happen? So maybe not, maybe yes. Who knows? Who the hell knows? I don't know. All I know is I want Ilya Dragunov to be champion. That's my bet here. That's my bet. All right, guys. We have some people saying they wish that they didn't tease the Theory cash in. If he were to cash in tomorrow, and let's just say he were to win, I wouldn't have wanted the tease either. If it's not going to happen, then I don't care for the tease. I think they just did it to end the show on a type of note, you know, like have people have a reaction. So I think they just really did it for that. But there you go, guys. That was NXT. Before I wrap up the show, if you haven't seen already on my social media account, I announced that I am going to be going live immediately. Well, not immediately, probably 25 minutes after NXT Halloween Havoc. I will be going live with Sam Roberts, everyone. I'm so happy that I reached out to Sam to see if he would do the show with me, and he said yes. And I was so very happy that he's going to do the show with me. This is going to be on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. Please, guys, this is going to be a really fun show. Please make sure you guys check it out. Sam Roberts, it's a huge get for me on my channel. So I'm very, very happy that he's even taking the time. He's going to be hosting the pre-show for NXT, the official pre-show on their broadcast. And then afterwards, he's going to be on my post show. So that really, really means a lot to me. I'm very, very proud of that. So please, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo. And we will be going live about 25 minutes after the show because Sam needs to get to a location where he can shoot. So I can't do a 5-minute turnaround. It's going to be a 25-minute turnaround so that he has time to get back to his hotel and do the show from there versus hopping right on. So we will take about 25 minutes to start the show afterwards, but it'll definitely be worth it. We got a super chat here from Carlos that says, and I read her always. Awesome, not bad at all. Oh, thank you very much. Seriously, Carlos, thank you for all the super chats that you have sent in. Christopher Marino sends in a super chat saying, here's to you and all the great work you are doing, and seeing Penta a bloody mess and no face paint was crazy. I know. Look, I know a lot of people are putting me over on social media, especially Mark Raimondi, my good friend Mark Raimondi from ESPN, for not shaking my boots because I was next to somebody who was very, very bloody. But I don't know how to tell you guys this, but I ring announce a lot of GCW events when they're out here in LA, and I have seen some shit. I have been up close and personal to some things that I never thought I would be. So I'm kind of used to all of the blood and all of that. At this point, it doesn't even shake my core whatsoever. So I'm good. I'm good. But it is crazy though, because when they come out of their match and you see them up close, drenched in sweat and blood is dried up on their face, you're just like, ooh, that looks bad. But yeah, at this point, it doesn't unravel me. It doesn't make me any less nervous or anything like that. Thank you so much to Carlos for sending in the super chat saying your live stream reads are always awesome. Thank you so much, Carlos. I appreciate it. I really, really do. All right, everyone. That is it. That's today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will be back this Friday for SmackDown and Rampage coverage. And as always, if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on Twitter and/or on Instagram @ Denise Salcedo. Give this video a like. And if you want to listen to the audio version, you could find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all those other websites. Thank you guys so much. Bye, everyone.